Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joseph Sangle. We are fired up to help you win with your money, take your next steps towards your fully funded life. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up on this Monday?
Fired up. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. So you're doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fired up at another level. And today we're going to talk about a topic that is, let's say, not nuts and bolts type stuff.
Yeah.
It's not, here's how you do a budget. Here's how you calculate something mathematically. We're going to talk about something that is very deep rooted, is going to go way beyond money. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, so today we're talking about identifying money wounds. So our question is, I need your help. I bought a house back in 2007 and then lost it in a short sale due to the housing collapse. I had also just bought stock right before when the big financial mess that happened at that same time. Because of this, I have been terrified of purchasing a home or investing in the stock market. For the past 10 years, it seems like I have missed out on so much potential. I really want to buy another house and invest, but I just can't seem to do it. What's going on with me?
Yikes. Uh-oh. So we're going to talk about that, and it's going to be very challenging, and I really believe this is going to be a very helpful podcast to help people understand why they do weird things with money.
Yeah.
I almost could title that, Why We Do Weird Things with Money. And before we do that, though, we know what time it is. It's that time. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
The Monday Money Tip Podcast is sponsored by the Fully Funded Life Membership Program. The Fully Funded Life Membership Program provides all you need to begin winning with money and live a fully funded life. Fully Funded Life includes 4 key components: courses, challenges, coaching, and community. Courses provide financial education. Challenges help you make massive progress in a specific money skill. Coaching is provided by the Fully Funded Life Certified Coaches through open office hours held multiple times each month. All of the courses, challenges, and coaching results in an outstanding community that help equip, motivate, and encourage you to take your next financial steps toward your fully funded life. Fully Funded Life, courses, challenges, coaching, community. All that's missing is you. Learn more and receive a special offer for Monday Money Tip listeners today at fullyfunded.life/MMT. That's www.fullyfunded.life/MMT. All right, well, for today's current money events section, we are going to talk about the Colonial pipeline shutdown due to the hackers.
Hackers.
Yeah, tell everybody what happened. Just we're on YouTube. Also, I don't know if you know this, if you're listening to this, we're on YouTube. Look straight into your camera there and tell everybody what happened in South Carolina and 12 other neighboring states. Describe what happened.
Yes. So, if you're unaware, one of the major pipelines that provides gasoline to all of the Southeast pretty much was hacked. And so basically shut down. They had to pay a ransom. I don't even know if they paid it. Did they pay it? They paid it. And finally got the fuel back pumping again. But in doing that, there was a huge delay. So literally gas stations ran out of fuel. But before they ran out of fuel, they were not afraid to charge you $3, $4, $5, $7, $9 a gallon. So I feel like it should be against the law. I think it is against the law, which is wild that it was happening. But so we had just gotten back from vacation when this happened. Our neighbor, thankfully, sent me a text and was like, "Hey, I think you might want to go get gas. They're running out of gas." I had absolutely no idea what was happening. I thought she was crazy. And so I was like, okay, told my husband, I was like, well, I guess you should go get gas. He pulls into the gas station and it is a zoo. There are cars everywhere. There's like 2 or 3, 4, 5 cars in line to get gas at one pump. So thankfully he was able to get gas in both of our cars. Thankfully we don't drive very far. His office is like 2 miles from our house.
Yeah.
And our office is not that far from our house either. So, it worked out well, but gas prices, I think finally it took like a few weeks after that for them to kind of level back off.
Took about 6 days to get fuel back in. We use 105 million gallons a day. That pipeline
wild.
does. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it was shut down due to hackers. And it really helps you understand that, we're recording because there's electricity. Mm-hmm. Somebody somewhere is making electricity, whether it's nuclear power, coal power, natural gas power. Somebody is making, and if they are not there doing their jobs, these infrastructure things, these things are necessary to life. And I've shared this before, and I don't want to overly impress people, but I am now an assistant scoutmaster in the Boy Scouts.
How do you become
assistant to the Scoutmaster?
How do you become the Scoutmaster?
You become the Scoutmaster?
Like, how do you not become the assistant?
Not become the assistant?
Like the one above. Is there somebody above you?
Oh, yeah, there's the Scoutmaster.
Yeah, how do you become that?
Well, I think basically no one else wants it, or somebody really wants it and says, hey, I want to be the Scoutmaster, and they get voted in.
Does your Scoutmaster want it?
Yeah, he wants it.
Okay. So
he wants it. He has 6 kids.
He's not giving that up anytime soon.
No, and I don't think anyone's competing for that. So what I would say is I did not grow up with the Boy Scouts. I was always intrigued by what the Boy Scouts do because I love being outdoors. I love learning all these life skills. I was always intrigued by the leadership development that Boy Scouts had. And they have a motto. And the motto is be prepared, right?
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Catchy.
Well, this is really important. I think we're reminded, this is a financial reminder for current money events.
Yep.
It was 13 states that were affected all the way up to the mid-Atlantic, Maryland even. And there is a great resource at ready.gov from the United States government. And ready.gov has a checklist. And this checklist shares everything that you should have in an emergency preparedness type of event in case of an emergency. And so there's lots of different types of emergencies. There's a hurricane, there's a tornado, there's a flood, there's an earthquake, there's a volcano in some areas of the country.
That's wild.
There's also gas outages. They didn't have the gas outage checklist, but I think it's important. And they don't have on there, 5 gallons of gas or 20 gallons of gas, a generator.
Yeah.
So I think you should use this checklist as a starting point.
Yeah.
But I think it is really important that you do prepare financially for emergencies that happen. They happen from time to time. And the reason they're emergencies is they don't notify you that they're coming.
I hate that.
Yes. They don't send a telegram.
Tornadoes. I think that's one of the things I hate. I cannot stand tornadoes because A, there's no warning. Well, very little warning. B, there's no predictability. It could destroy your neighbor's house and your house could be fine. It could destroy your house and your neighbor's house could be fine. I don't like that.
I live on top of a hill.
I don't like it.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's coming for you.
Yeah. Makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But I'll sleep there tonight.
Okay.
So the issue is that you got to be prepared. And so I do encourage everybody, we're including in the show notes, ready.gov. So they didn't pay me to do this, and they should, but we actually don't want to be paid for this because it's just good common sense to be prepared. And it does list on there cash or money orders, which seems weird.
Yeah.
I would say have some cash, cash. Cash would be the most beneficial thing in that. And you never know when you will have an emergency. You never know when your community may have an emergency. You may never know when your whole state has an emergency. Yeah. And that's why they declare a state of emergency. And I want you to be prepared. So go to ready.gov, print out the checklist, and carve out some time this week to prepare your emergency preparedness kit. And I think you'll be so glad you did one day. Hopefully you never have to use it, but you'll be glad that you're prepared anyway. So that's it for my very helpful current money events section.
Yes, very helpful. All right, our success story today is from Valerie, and she says 4 years ago, she said, I was 25 years old with $20,000 in credit card debt and $12,000 in auto debt. I had no clue how to handle money, and I was overwhelmed and scared I ruined my life. I wasn't a Christian, and so you could say I was hopeless and knew it. I started attending Life Point Church and heard about I Was Broke, Now I'm Not almost immediately through online sermons at New Spring. I started tithing right away, and I picked up a copy of I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, read it, and had hope. In March last year, I made my last payment and walked into a completely debt-free life. I lowered my credit card limits and then still didn't know what to really do with my money, so I've been spending it. Yes, I'm a spender too. Spenders unite. There you go. How great it was to have a fellow spender relate. I think she's talking about you.
You, me, yes.
Yeah. Nothing worse than those savers preaching. Excuse you.
She's saying what the savers are preaching here.
Yeah. Just live within your means. It's not hard. Anyhow, so fast forward to last Sunday's financial learning experience. I was able to tune into the oxen part of the message now that I'm debt-free with an emergency account funded and some extra. It was a great truth of God you're bringing. My car just broke down last week. I needed nearly $1,000 of repairs and maintenance. And guess what? I wasn't scared at all. I had the money and it felt great. Get fired up. Praise God you answered his call. Thank you for being passionate about his ministry. Not only is that all this fabulous news, but as a 4-year Christian, it's another experience of God's word and his nature. And that is my very favorite part of being a Christian, experiencing the power and love of his character. I just want to encourage you and let you know how God has used you in my life.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like, if it was all on one page, it would have taken up the whole page, which is amazing. And so, you know, it is a very necessary part of one's Christian walk. And, you know, I like to say, God cannot love you more or less based on the size of your bank account. Hallelujah, says everybody who's broke, right?
Yeah.
But it's also hallelujah for everybody who's in surplus. Because those who've been in surplus and have it for a while, they recognize that it is not their savior and it cannot be their great provider and that there's way more to life than just that. But it is so nice to have that part of life addressed. And for as long as we live, we're going to have problems. Let's just make sure that long-term money won't be one of them. And there are things that, as we teach, you know, give, save, invest, plan the rest. If you do that regularly and continuously, you will prosper. And so I'm so grateful that she shared this. It's been a huge part of her money journey. We're so thankful to be a small portion of that journey and to be able to take time to write that much to us. Man, that took some time, some energy, some effort, and we're so grateful. We're just celebrating with you. You know, how awesome is it for your car to break down, cost you nearly $1,000, and there's really no issue at all. Just go get it fixed. Yeah. It's a nuisance that the car's broke down.
Right.
But at least you can just pay for it, and it doesn't have the car problem and the money problem. So congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing. Anything else that stood out to you?
I mean, there's a lot in there. I think the big thing is, one of the big things that we say is like she felt hopeless, but then she walked away with hope. And so we want to be able to provide hope. We want to be able to provide, when we talk about like a catalytic moment for people, but we just want to be able to help provide you with practical steps. And so for her, you know, she went to the event once and the practical step was for her was budgeting. And then she went again and the practical step for her was oxen and how to invest and that kind of stuff. So it changes as you move along, which I think is really cool. And so that's why we talk about all the different steps of a ladder, because each step applies to somebody different and you're moving your way up the ladder. And so I think for her, it had to be a cool moment when she went to that and was able to hone in on a completely different thing than she was able to last time. So
That I love that you bring that up, because we do like to provide progressive teaching.
Yeah.
So in everything that we do in the podcast, we want to make sure we're relating with everybody who's struggling, those that are stable but maybe feel stuck, and those that are in surplus mode. And that's great that you point that out, because she heard it first as a struggler. Right. Now she's hearing it as somebody who's stable, moving to surplus. Yep. That's awesome.
Okay, so for our question for today, our question is, I need your help. I bought a house back in 2007 and then lost it. It was sold as a short sale due to the housing collapse. I had also just bought stock right before the big financial mess that happened at the same time. Because of this, I have been terrified of purchasing a home or investing in the stock market. For the past 10 years, it seems like I have missed out on so much potential. I really want to buy another house and invest, but I just can't seem to do it. What's going on with me?
Yeah, that's a challenging question. We're going to navigate through it, but I would just say this. First, it seems like you've encountered a stream of really, really bad luck.
Yeah.
And for that, we're really sorry. But what you're really describing here is something we call money wounds around here at I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. And so I want to define what a money wound is. A money wound are those negative financial events that have happened in our life that cause us to believe a lie or prevent us from making a good financial decision. That's a money wound. That's my best definition right now. We could tweak it over time, but that's our current up-to-date definition. It's negative financial events that have happened in our life that cause us to believe a lie or prevent us from making a good financial decision. And ultimately, there's two types of money wounds. So what's the first type?
Yep. So the first type is major events.
Right. So there's major event type money wounds. And what this person here who's asking the question is describing is major events, money wounds. You know, the financial collapse of 2008 and 9 led to the collapse of the stock market, and the housing market completely froze up due to the horrible, terrible TRBL, interest-only and subprime mortgages that have proliferated like dandelions in an unkept yard. Do you like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Little analogy there?
Yeah, good analogy.
Kind of a yellow analogy
I was
there.
picturing it in my head.
Yeah. And, you know, if you've seen dandelions, they proliferate a lot. Now, if you're in Arizona, maybe you don't see them so much, but I'm confident dandelions are a problem there. Yeah. But when you make a massive financial decision like purchasing a home and it doesn't work out, wow, it can really leave a mark and help you develop a deep money wound. It's really like a child who accidentally touched a hot stove. They scream. What do they scream? Ow! And then they think, I don't ever want to do that again. And that's a major event money wound. What's the second type of money wound?
Yes. So number 2 is lifestyle.
Right. So lifestyle money wounds are those wounds that develop over a long period of time, such as growing up in poverty or bankruptcy due to prolonged periods of overspending, or money having been used as power or control over you by a spouse, a parent, a sibling, or a friend. And lifestyle money wounds are really hurtful because they can keep you stuck for life if you don't identify them. And so there's these major events that happen. There's lifestyle ones that happen. And so can you describe some other ones of those that may be good examples of those two types that you've seen happen? Major event ones or lifestyle ones?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel like definitely it's easy to see, like, to experience something, but then also like see it in like a friend's life. So if you had a friend that, you know, maybe their parents were divorced and, you know, that the divorce caused a huge financial division. And because of that, their lives looked differently because of their finances. They struggled from there on out because of the finances of like a decision that was made. That could be something that I feel like a lot of people might have lived with or affected or something like that.
Sure. A relationship failure.
Yeah, relationship failure. You know, it's nothing that you plan or prepare for, but sometimes it happens, and there's definitely financial implications of that kind of stuff that it's hard to plan for and prepare and deal with afterwards.
And implications is a very important word that you just said. It really leads to the next point, which is what?
Yes, so the next point is long-term effects are possible and likely.
Yes. So let me tell you my own story, because I had lifestyle money wounds. And my lifestyle money wounds are brought on by continual overspending, no plan, no budget, and little financial discipline paired with no education, no financial education. And I still have long-term effects. Yeah. So what's crazy is when I was broke, I had the stress of trying to figure out how to pay the bills on time. I would try to balance the checkbook, but there was a whole lot of, I don't know where this was, but this is the balance, so we're going to call that good. And then there was write the checks. I would write checks and put them in envelopes and put dates on the envelopes so we wouldn't mail them before that date, which was generally the day after payday, so that payday could cover it. So I was spending tomorrow's money today. And it created a level of stress and logistical nightmare, really, trying to keep myself from going into the not sufficient funds category. And I did an amazing job of that, of keeping the plate spinning. But there would be stress. I would feel like the temperature in the room went to 1,000,000 degrees. I would have, I'm confident, increased blood pressure because my face would flush. And with embarrassment, I think it was a combination of embarrassment, shame, anger, humiliation, all those things of this should not be happening. I do not know why this is happening. And it's crazy. As I started preparing a budget, I'm sitting here thinking, well, now I've got a budget. We're following this budget. We're making progress. This debt's paid off. Now this debt's paid off. Now another. Now we're debt free except for the house. And then
okay, well, we sold our house and we moved to go to work for this church and took a 50% pay cut. And we still have a budget, so we can still do okay. Every single time to this day, when I sit down and prepare a budget, the blood pressure goes up, right? And all these challenges of that my upper lip starts sweating and I have to resist the fight or flight thing. And the family kind of knows, like, leave Dad alone. And I've actually learned to not prepare my budget and pay the bills when family's up. Like when the kids are up and running around, I wait till they're in bed or I wait till they're gone at school. Simply because I know that there's long-term effects from money wounds. Yeah. This is why this person cannot get themselves to buy stock again, cannot get themselves to buy a house. And think about what they've missed out on. Crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like you might be sitting there thinking, oh, I don't have those money wounds. And maybe you don't, and that's awesome. But maybe your spouse does. And now you're understanding that's why they do that. That's why they act that way. That's why
my friend is weird.
Yeah, or maybe it's your friend
or mom and dad are
family
weird.
member, or like, I don't know. I just feel like looking through the lens of that will help you understand somebody else a whole lot better, and maybe be able to come alongside them. Maybe send them this podcast episode, but then also maybe be able to be, a friend to them, or like helping your spouse through that, or helping a family member through that, of kind of like understanding the money wounds and what caused it, and helping them, kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself here in the notes. But,
No, that's good.
What caused it, or what, how they can move forward in that. But I feel like it's good to look through the lens of that, of, okay, maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody that you know, or somebody that you love, or a friend,
and it can help you understand them and why they act the way they do.
Yeah.
And I think today we should ask each of our listeners to identify their money wounds. It's one of these things. Money wounds is going to give you vernacular to call something that is much more, requires a lot more words. We're giving it a name. Much like Donald Trump, who, love him or hate him, gave fake news the name. Like, all of us knew that CNN leans one way, Fox News leads the other way, right? It's hard to get any type of news without somebody giving a spin on it that absolutely has reflects their political angling and leanings. Right? Everybody's they're seeing truth through their vision of the world. We're trying to give a name to this, which is money wounds. And identifying your money wounds, podcast listener, is important because it brings a level of self-awareness or self-understanding that will help you face down the money lies and fears that are produced by these wounds. Like, these money lies, these fears, they're produced by the wounds. And you can beat them down by identifying. You were just mentioning, though,
yes,
that it's a great way to do it is to look at those you love. That's the first way that you can start doing self-identification. Yeah. Is see it in family or friends.
Yeah.
Speak some more to that.
I think it's such a big topic that so many people are affected by that, we don't even know, and you might not even know the long-term effects of it, or you might be living in the long-term effects of it. But I feel like it's when you see your loved one through that lens of the money wounds, you're able to have a whole different view on the situation, and you're able to have the conversation with them in a different way and love them in a different way. And, it's the same thing as once you get to know somebody, you know their story, you see them differently. And so once you know somebody's money wounds, you'd be able to see them differently, and the situations are different. Your family knows when you pay bills, okay, we have, like, it's Dad's
give
time.
Dad some space.
Yeah. And it's because of that, and they understand that, and they're able to, like, respect that, I feel like. And so maybe somebody else needs to hear that, where they're like, okay, when I'm paying bills, or when I'm, working on our budget, I need some me time where I can like hide away, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing.
We learn about ourselves by observing things in others.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, how many times have you been around your friends while they're paying their bills?
Not very often.
Probably never.
Yeah.
I have never been at my friend's house while they're paying bills. Ever.
It's not really a common activity you do together.
No, it's something very private.
Yeah.
It's something, and we've automated a lot of it. It's kind of over there. But here's the fact. When you see strange financial behavior, you see it when you're out shopping with your friends. You see it when you're out doing some recreational activity, like out at the lake, or motorcycling, or on a vacation. If you go on vacation with friends, you could see some weird behavior show up. And when you do that, don't say, oh, that's weird behavior. My friend is weird. Look at it and saying, hey, why am I noticing this?
Yeah.
And I think you're going to say, aha, that's a money wound. And that's a lifestyle one, or that's a major event happening in their life. And I don't know what's happening, but the way they're behaving, I know there's been a major money event in their life that caused them negative things. So really what I would ask you to do, podcast listeners, is look at your friends, look at family, look at those you love the most, and see if there's any odd financial behavior. You can see it. There's money wounds. And from that, what can you learn from them? And then, friend, ask yourself the most important question, which is, what are your money wounds? Do you do anything weird with money? And do you have any anxiety related to any part of money behavior, whether it is through giving, saving, investing, or debt? Is there any weird behavior? And then what I really feel like we can't go to it in the level we want to, I think we should have a follow-up episode where we talk about how do we address it? Because really we're talking here about identifying it. We're giving it a name, money wounds. And then we're saying identify it. So we have a quote for today from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I think that's how we pronounce it. I'll say it for you.
I'm glad you said
What's
that.
the quote?
The quote is, behavior is the mirror in which everyone shows their image.
Right. And Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, I researched him today. He's a German poet, playwright, novelist, scientist, statesman, theater director, critic, and amateur artist. Huge influence. And he had some unbelievably challenging things. They had 4 children, and he had 4 children with a lady he was not married to. He was not married. They did not get married. It was kind of a big scandal.
Yeah.
They eventually got married. The first child lived. None of their other 3 children lived beyond 10 days.
Oh, wow.
So sad. So you think about infant mortality back in the days, and think about that in the context of him saying behavior is the mirror in which everyone shows their image, and the sadness and the sorrow that he experienced of that. And of course, the mother of those children. And so he's really saying behavior is the mirror in which everyone shows their image. And when you think about that, these money wounds it's in us. And so it reflects out in our behavior. And so we got to either break the mirror somehow or address it. That's what we'll talk about next episode. And that's the preview for next episode is we're going to talk about healing money wounds.
Yes. And if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to others who could benefit. You could do this by quickly rating our podcast and leaving us a review. And these ratings and reviews will help make our podcast better for others who listen. And if you implemented one of our tips, make sure to share your success story with us. You can email us at info@iwbnin.com, and we would love to feature it on the podcast.
Awesome. And of course, on YouTube, you can subscribe. You can see us in the live production of this in our worldwide studios, which are undergoing a makeover. And so we're excited about the new podcast studios that I understand you're designing. And so maybe some people can give us some input on what we should have definitely in our new studios also. So we'd love to hear that from you as well. In the meantime, this week, hey, think right now. What are some money wounds you have? What are the money wounds that your loved ones that are closest to you have? And then make sure you're back here next week. We're going to talk about how you can help heal some of those money wounds. We'll see you next week. Get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.